joining us right now. Peter Franchot, Maryland Comptroller. Mr. Franchot, thanks for joining us this morning. Last time we had you on, you certainly caught our attention when you said this.
I'm estimating that we would have to raise the state property tax by 67% to pay for the debt payments that we owe over the next 5 years.
Well, that was October. Of course, Governor O'Malley did a few things right after the holidays, I should say, and now Larry Hogan is coming in. Does your outlook look any better right now?
Well, the debt service obviously has to be paid, and we've drawn down a lot of the debt that was authorized. The question back then was whether the Board of Public Works that I serve on with the governor and the treasurer would vote, as it's empowered to raise the state property tax in order to meet the greater debt service. And I had said I wasn't going to. My two colleagues on the board then, I think, were probably going to vote for an increase. And now we have a new day in Annapolis. And there's a new ally for my fiscal responsibility on the Board of Public Works, or will be when Governor-elect Hogan is sworn in. So the upshot is the state property tax is not going to be raised to pay the debt service. Unfortunately, it will have to come out of the general fund with subsidies that are, in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
All right, so exactly as best you can determine as we sit here today, what is the budget shortfall expected to be?
Well, the newspaper accounts are $750 million for the fiscal year that they'll be voting on, and in this upcoming session, that fiscal year starts July 1st. I want to praise Governor O'Malley. I've given him a hard time on some issues, but in response to my request, he brought $400 million in budget adjustments to the Board of Public Works, and we voted those last week, and that is going to help a lot because that corrects the budget downfall for shortfall for the fiscal year that we're in currently. In other words, we cut or adjusted the budget by $400 million at one Board of Public Works meeting, and it's for the budget that we're in right now, which concludes at the end of June of this year. That is such a godsend for the state because those are real cuts that are made
right
to staunch the bleeding of a state budget that is seriously spending more than it's bringing in.
But you still have to make up some more ground.
Still have a $750 million deficit for the upcoming year, and there obviously has to be more fiscal responsibility so that we can get into a sustainable situation. And that's what I'm looking forward to with the governor-elect. I have a lot of respect for him. And I emphasize management. We don't need to do draconian things, but we need to definitely get on top of the spending and the borrowing and make sure that it's under very tight control.
We've spoken here, Mr. Franchot, with the governor-elect as well as his lieutenant governor-elect, Boyd Rutherford, and both of them would love to try to find areas in the government where they see many redundancies, many elements of waste and things like that. Are you going to be working with him on that? And if you're able to achieve some savings there, would the taxpayers of Maryland be able to see some tax relief soon?
Well, the legislature is meeting now, has started meeting yesterday. They're going to work with the governor on the budget. But when the legislature is not in session, the Board of Public Works is authorized to reduce any state agency by up to 25%. And I have told Governor-elect Hogan, who's been very gracious and reached out to me, that anything he wants to do that will improve the economy of the state of Maryland, that's responsible and moderate and represents good professional management of the budget, I will be completely open-minded on. And he and I think, are going to forget the politics for a couple of years, and when the legislature's not in session, we're going to roll our sleeves up and adjust the budget where necessary, but also do lots of other things that are going to help the taxpayers, like overhaul the procurement system, which is broken right now, get in touch with our small businesses who need as you mentioned, a predictable tax environment and predictable regulatory process, and they need customer service from the government. So I think it's a new day in Maryland as far as the economy, and I expect to see the economy begin to respond sooner rather than later. And I emphasize the economy because the budget in the state that we're all focused on, Brian and Larry, is very secondary. I mean, most people out in the state could care less about whether there is a deficit in the state budget. They're worried about their own budget.
Well, I get that. Will the cuts? I have two questions. Two really. Are the cuts going to be such that people will be hollering about a lack of services?
I certainly hope not.
You think there's enough fat in the budget as it stands right now?
Yeah, no, we cut the governor. To his credit, the current governor, Martin O'Malley, brought in $400 million in reductions.
I got that
adjustments. Right. And my agency, for example, I'm agreeing to a 2% cut in my $120 million budget and it's over a 6-month period, so it's really 4%. Am I able to do that and still conduct the business of tax collection and tax refunds? Yes. Is it a challenge? Sure. But can you do it with good management? Yes. And we're not going to see, at least in my agency, hopefully, knock on wood, any decrease in services to the public. In fact, we're going to increase the services, and when you call my agency, I hope you're going to get a real person on the phone rather than some recording.
All right. So, and here's my other question, because as I hear you talk, and you talk about the policies of Martin O'Malley, I get the impression that you were not in agreement. And when I hear you talk about Larry Hogan, it's very warm. It's very like, I'm very hopeful. I'm going to work hand in hand. We're going to roll up our sleeves and work together. And you seem to be very positive about the things you see with the incoming governor. I'm sort of wondering, in the grand scheme of things, have you considered the possibility that you might really be a Republican?
No, I'm a very proud Democrat. Thank you. And on social issues, the governor-elect and I would probably have some major differences.
You sure you don't want to come over to the dark side?
He's from Tacoma Park.
I'm very happy being a Democrat, but maybe I could get you, Larry, and Brian to come over to my side.
Don't hold your breath.
Depends on what kind of wine you're serving, I'll be honest. Peter Franchot, before we let you go, I know you're going to make some news today about your Let Summer Be Summer petition. When you launched this, we had you on, and I think the idea is that summer extends all the way to Labor Day and schools begin then. Can you reveal a little bit to us this morning about what your petition shows?
Well, we announced in August we were going to call on 10,000 people to sign a petition to show the General Assembly that this is a broadly supported idea, starting school after Labor Day. It's a no-brainer for me because small businesses and families with small children, even teachers who need to have second employment, all support this. The farming community is huge for it. Because of the 4-H clubs. So it's a good idea, and it helps the state's economy, and I like it because it's, reminds me of when I grew up, the wonderful memories that I have with my parents and the memories I have with my own children. And so I say let summer be summer. It's run into a lot of opposition from the educational elite. But boy, do the people support it. So we've got more than 10,000 signatures. We've got a number of Democrats and Republicans who are coming together today at a press conference to ask the legislature to move this forward. The governor-elect has indicated that he's very supportive, and I think he's going to stop by the press conference. And I anticipate that this issue, which was dismissed, I think, by some of the editorial writers as a silly issue, is in fact going to pass, and I think the state will benefit from it.
All right, Peter Franchot, Maryland Comptroller. It's always a good conversation when you're here. Please, what has it been, 3 months? We need to do this more often,
Please,
Peter Franchot. Especially if you want me to be a Democrat. You're going to really have to court me.
Well, I'll come. I'll actually drive down and pitch it in person.
There you go.
Yeah, come on in.
Okay.
You know where we are. You used to live right up the street here, actually.
Thank